Okay, my life's going to be seemingly pretty mundane compared to Kim. But anyhow, here it goes. I was born in Punjab, India, which is, for those of you not familiar with Indian geography, Punjab is the second northernmost state. And went to high school, and after high school went to a diploma in civil engineering. And then at 18, I was accepted at the University of Michigan and came to the United States. And went directly from New York to Ann Arbor, or Detroit, Michigan to Ann Arbor. And I started college in summertime. So one of the most interesting and strange thing that happened to me, being an engineer and all that, between the dorm and the classrooms, there was a parking lot. And it had parking meters on it. And I used to wonder, there were no meters in India, so I was wondering, what kind of country is this that can grow metal poles out of the earth? So that was pretty interesting. I graduated from the University of Michigan in '62 and applied for my first job here with Montgomery County, Maryland. I rose over the years, over a 12-year period, from a rank of Engineer 1 to Chief of Traffic Operations. Then a kind of strange thing happened to me, and I'll talk about that a little later on. During that time, I got married briefly in 1965 to Angela, and I was born in Sikh family, but in order to marry Angela, I had to convert to Lutheranism, and we got married in a Lutheran church. Have a son, Roger. He's in the film industry in California, and got divorced. And a couple of years later on, couldn't get along and that kind of thing. So, anyhow, after that, I met Martha at work, and before we went to Florida, after 12 years with Montgomery County, we got married here at North Bethesda United Methodist Church in 1978. Reverend Sergeant officiated at our wedding ceremony and so forth. So we lived in West Palm Beach for a while, 3 years. I worked for a consulting firm, then came back and to a traffic operation type of job with the city of Washington, D.C. Was there about 7-8 years, then transferred over to Federal Department of Transportation, and finally I retired 80 years ago from the U.S. DOT Research and Development, and since then I've done some part-time work for Texas A&M University, as well as the Battelle National Labs out of Ohio, Columbus, Ohio, and I'm also now on the faculty at George Washington University, where I teach graduate courses. So that's the kind of background I have insofar as where I came from and what I've done.
Great, thank you. So you mentioned you converted to Lutheranism.
Right.
How did you end up here? What is your faith journey from then on to where we are now?
All right. I was born in Sikh religion, and back in 1960s when I came here, there weren't many Sikh temples as compared to today, and so I didn't practice much religion at all. I did go to church once in a while, maybe around Christmas time and that kind of thing with some friends and those kind of things, but didn't really practice any religion. But after converting to Lutheran, I did practice religion to some extent, but not really to the dedication we currently have, I have now. But all that changed when we got married. Of course, we became Martha and I became member of this church. And my devotional teachings, and as well as dedication to North Bethesda, was not as good, or well, it's good now, but was not as good as Martha's. She was a true disciple of God and spent a lot of time at the church with Bible studies, and my children. I have two with Martha, Matthew and Elson. They, of course, were baptized here, and they spent a lot of time with this church. And Matthew reached Eagle Scout rank with the guidance of all this church family and Rev Deb, among others. And Elson, She just likes to hike, and she's done the Appalachian Trail, 2,500 some miles, and she's done the Pacific Coast Trail, and now she's about to do the Continental Divide Trail. And I think she's trying to beat Jim at his at his game. So anyhow,
She's one.
so my faith journey started out with sort of minimal at all to completely dedicated to this church and the teachings of the Christ, Jesus Christ, like the Word.
Thank you, Raj. Well, would you share any interests or hobbies or talents you have with us?
I like to read since I'm retired, and but I also do. I go to gym along with Jennifer Fellows. We go to the same gym every day, Monday through Friday, and I snow ski and play golf in summertime. And of course, I try to keep current of the technology that's ever changing. So that's why I teach courses at George Washington University, to keep current of what's happening. My area of interest, which is autonomous vehicles and reduction of accidents, crashes, and those kind of things, and improving traffic operations to improve efficiency of our surface transportation system and reduce congestion, basically.
Thank you. So moving here to the States, I imagine, like you said, was very new for you when you first moved. What have your experiences been around issues of race and equity?
That's an interesting question. Normally, for those of you who are as old as I am, back in the days in the 60s, there weren't too many different categories of race. You know, right? Currently we have 5, 6 of them, but basically I think in old days was black, white, and others. And I was sort of other. And but anyhow, what I mentioned that I left 12 years after 12 years with Montgomery County. The reason for leaving there was I had, as a traffic operations chief, we my team and my branch and so forth, we operated all the signing and marking and traffic signals in Montgomery County. Wow. So I had an engineering function, and I also had a shop function where people would repair things, as well as engineers who would engineer things like design of signs and those kind of things. About 10 years into my employment with Montgomery County, I hired a white young engineer who we really liked from Connecticut. And so about 2 years later, the assistant division chief position became vacant, and that position, including myself, entailed developing budgets and all the personnel actions and so forth and so forth. So Scott, who's this guy hired, also interviewed for the position I applied for, assistant division chief. Well, lo and behold, you know, he knew all the answers. The selection panel asked about budget and who signs where and who authorizes what and that kind of thing. That caused me to, that was the first and only time in life where I kind of felt, you know, sort of twinge of pain, if you will. And that's why that caused me to leave Montgomery County and go work for a consulting firm. Which now I look back, and by the way, I did file a protest with the county personnel office, but then I left anyhow. And after a year of investigation, they said, you were right, you were discriminated and all that and stuff. But in reality, what happened to me was the biggest thing that ever could have happened. Compare the two situations. If I was still with Montgomery County, I'd still be probably still with Montgomery County. But with leaving Montgomery County, I got national exposure, international exposure. I represent DOT on various committees and travel the world, unfortunately on taxpayer expense, but doing my job.
You wouldn't be today.
Yeah. For example, I've been to Paris like 50 times, Tokyo, even Hanoi. World Bank asked me to go give a talk to them on traffic control systems, what are the current state of the art is, what they should be looking at, other than what they have, which is basically French influence, you know, looking at other countries and so forth. So I look back and see that occurrence with Montgomery County in more positive area than in the negative area, because it really gave me a swift kick in the rear and caused me to move forward, had some more get up and go type of thing, rather than a Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, job with Montgomery County in Rockville, Maryland.
Thank you, Raji. I think we often start reflecting when we go through experiences, and we begin to reflect on, okay, so this is what happened, but what am I going to do with this opportunity, and how am I going to move ahead? So it's really a response to it. So thank you for sharing that. So what have you had to learn or unlearn around issues of social justice?
Having worked in different types of environment, local level, Montgomery County, Washington, D.C., that would be local level as well, and then working for a consultant, and then national level, and then international level, and so forth. I did see certain amount of overt as well as clear discrimination against certain types of people, foreigners, blacks, obviously in this country, and so forth. Having gone through that kind of thing with Montgomery County, Maryland, my objective had been, prior to going to other places, is to do the right thing. And whenever I did not do the right thing, did not know what the right thing was, I remember back 12 years with Montgomery County, what happened to me, and that gave me a more sensitive, innermost type of feeling to do the right thing. So from that experience, I made sure that things were done with equity and with everybody got their right time and opportunity and those kind of things.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. We just like to thank Raj and Kim for sharing with us. We learned a lot today. So